I felt hands on my back as I stood at the edge of the rooftop, looking down at the construction site 12 stories below. The evening sun was setting over Phoenix, painting the desert sky orange and purple. My business partner of 20 years, Marcus Webb, had asked me to come up here to discuss the new project. "Just want to show you the view, Tom," he'd said. "See what we've built together." Then I felt the push. Not hard enough to send me over, not yet. Just enough to test. Just enough to see if I'd notice. I turned around slowly. Marcus was standing 3 feet behind me, his expression unreadable in the fading light. "Careful," he said. "The edge is closer than it looks." My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm 65 years old, and I've spent the last 40 years building a construction company from nothing. Brennan Webb Construction started in a garage in 1985, just me and Marcus, 2 young guys with more ambition than sense. We were both 25, fresh out of the military, looking to make something of ourselves. We scraped together $10,000, bought used equipment, and started bidding on small residential jobs. 40 years later, Brennan Webb Construction is worth $30 million. We've built shopping centers, apartment complexes, office buildings across Arizona and Nevada. We employ 200 people. We're respected in the industry. And somewhere along the way, Marcus decided that splitting $30 million wasn't enough. He wanted all of it. The life insurance conversations started 3 months ago. We were in our office reviewing quarterly financials. The company was doing well, better than well. We'd just landed a $40 million contract to build a mixed-use development in Scottsdale, the biggest project we'd ever taken on. "Tom, I've been thinking," Marcus said, setting down his coffee. "We should update our life insurance policies. Key man insurance. Make sure if something happens to either of us, the company's protected." It made sense. We'd had basic policies for years, but nothing substantial. We were older now. The company was bigger. Protecting it seemed prudent. "What do you have in mind?" I asked. "I talked to an insurance broker. We could each get policies for $10 million. If one of us dies, the other gets the payout, keeps the company running smoothly. No liquidity problems, no forced sale to cover estate taxes." $10 million. I'd never thought about being worth that much dead. But Marcus was right. If I died suddenly, my estate would owe significant taxes. My shares of the company might have to be sold to cover it. That could destroy everything we'd built. "Who pays the premiums?" I asked. "Company pays. It's a business expense, tax deductible." Marcus pulled out paperwork. "I already got quotes. The broker can come by tomorrow if you want to move forward." I signed the papers the next day. So did Marcus. $10 million policies on each of us, with the surviving partner as the beneficiary. The broker, a slick guy named Dennis Coulter, walked us through everything. Medical exams, financial disclosures, beneficiary designations. It took 3 weeks to get approved, but by early September, the policies were active. Marcus seemed pleased, relieved even. I didn't think much of it at the time. 2 weeks after the policies went active, Marcus suggested we inspect the Scottsdale project site. Good to get up on the roof, see the whole layout. Want to make sure the crane positioning is right for the next phase. We'd done this 100 times over 40 years. Walked job sites together, climbed scaffolding, checked progress. It was part of the business. So I didn't question it when Marcus said we should go up at sunset. He explained, better light for photos. We took the construction elevator to the 12th floor, then climbed the ladder to the roof. The building was still just a skeleton. Steel beams and concrete floors, no walls yet. The edge was unprotected except for a temporary safety rail that looked flimsy in the wind. "Come look at this," Marcus called, walking toward the western edge. "You can see the whole valley from here." I followed him, stood at the rail, looking down at the ground far below. The construction site was empty. Crew had left at 5. We were alone up here. That's when I felt it. Hands on my back. Pressure. Not a pat, not friendly contact. A push. Testing weight. Testing balance, testing how hard it would take to send me over. I turned fast. Marcus was right behind me, closer than he should have been. His face was blank, calculated. For just a second, I saw something in his eyes, something cold. "Careful," he said again. "The edge is closer than it looks." I turned away from the rail, away from him. My heart was pounding. Had I imagined it? Had Marcus actually just tested pushing me off a building? "I'm good," I said, keeping my voice steady.
Let's head down, getting dark. Marcus nodded, smiled, like nothing had happened. We climbed back down, drove back to the office in my truck. He made small talk about the project timeline, material costs, normal business conversation. But I couldn't shake the feeling, the way his hands had felt on my back, the calculation in his eyes. That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed the moment over and over, the pressure on my back, the way Marcus was positioned, perfectly placed to push me over if I hadn't turned. The fact that we were alone on a construction site at sunset, no witnesses, no security cameras up that high. And the life insurance, $10 million, payable to the surviving partner. I told myself I was being paranoid. This was Marcus, my best friend for 40 years. We built a company together, raised families together, stood as best man at each other's weddings. He wouldn't try to kill me for money, but I couldn't shake it. The next morning, I called my attorney, Robert Chin. We'd known each other for 30 years. Tom, I need you to look into something for me, quietly. What's going on, Tom? I need you to look into my business partnership agreement with Marcus, specifically what happens if one of us dies. Long pause. Tom, are you okay? Is your health? I'm fine. Just need to know the legal details. Humor me. Robert called back that afternoon. Tom, according to your partnership agreement, if either partner dies, the surviving partner has the right to buy out the deceased shares at current market valuation. Given your recent valuation for the insurance policies, that's about $15 million. But here's the thing. The surviving partner has 2 years to complete the purchase, and in the meantime, they continue drawing their salary, their profit distributions, everything.
So, if I died, Marcus would have full control of the company immediately? Essentially, yes. He'd have to buy out your estate eventually, but he'd have 2 years to do it. And with the insurance payout, he'd have $10 million liquid cash to facilitate the purchase. And if he couldn't come up with the other $5 million? He could take out a loan against the company's assets or structure a payment plan with your estate. Either way, he'd be in control. I thanked Robert and hung up, sat in my office staring at the numbers. If I died, Marcus would get $10 million in insurance. He'd gain control of a $30 million company, and he'd have 2 years to buy out my shares, during which time he'd be running everything, making all decisions, controlling all the money. Total potential gain, $30 million. All he had to do was kill me and make it look like an accident. I pulled up our company's accident records. Brennan Webb had an excellent safety record. We'd gone 5 years without a serious injury, but construction sites were inherently dangerous. People died in falls every year. OSHA would investigate, but if it looked like standard negligence, like someone got too close to an unprotected edge, they'd chalk it up to an unfortunate accident. I needed proof. If Marcus was planning to kill me, I needed to know for sure, and I needed evidence that would hold up if I went to the police. I called a private investigator I'd used years ago for background checks on potential hires. Her name was Patricia Reeves, former FBI, now running her own firm. Patricia, I need surveillance on my business partner. I think he might be trying to kill me. She didn't laugh, didn't ask if I was joking, just said, tell me everything. I did. The insurance policies, the rooftop incident, the financial motives. She listened, took notes, asked sharp questions. Tom, if you're right, he'll try again, and next time he might not test it first. We need to be smart about this. I'll put surveillance on Marcus, track his movements, see who he's talking to, but you need to be careful. Don't go anywhere isolated with him. Don't put yourself in situations where he could stage an accident. How long will this take? Depends on what he's planning. Could be days, could be weeks. In the meantime, I need you to act normal. If he suspects you know, he might panic, do something reckless. I spent the next 2 weeks in a constant state of hypervigilance. Every time Marcus suggested we visit a job site, I made excuses. Every time we had a meeting alone, I made sure someone else was nearby. I started keeping my office door open, started parking my truck where security cameras could see it. Marcus noticed. You okay, Tom? You seem distant lately. Just tired. This Scottsdale project is wearing me out. Maybe you should take some time off. Go visit Sarah in Portland.
When's the last time you saw your daughter? Never, because I wasn't leaving town while someone might be planning to kill me. Patricia called me 3 weeks into the surveillance. Tom, I need you to come to my office, now, and don't tell Marcus. I drove to her office in Tempe, a nondescript building that could have been anything. She led me to a conference room where she had files spread across the table, crime board on the wall with photos, timeline, connections drawn in red marker. Marcus has been busy, she said. She pulled out photos. This is him meeting with Dennis Coulter, the insurance broker, at a bar in Scottsdale, twice in the last week, always late at night, always cash payments that I could see changing hands. Maybe they're friends. Maybe, but look at this. She showed me phone records. Marcus has been calling Coulter multiple times a week, short calls, under 2 minutes, and he's using a burner phone for some of them. I caught him buying prepaid phones at 3 different stores, one in Mesa, one in Tempe, one in Chandler, always paying cash, always different stores so nobody remembers him. Why would he need burner phones to talk to an insurance broker? Exactly, because they're not just talking about insurance. Patricia pulled out more photos, and this is where it gets interesting. Coulter met with someone else, guy named Raymond Torres. He's got a record, assault with a deadly weapon, armed robbery, did 5 years in Florence State Prison, got out 18 months ago. He's been working odd construction jobs since then, cash under the table, staying off the radar, including at your Scottsdale site for the last 6 weeks. My blood ran cold. Marcus hired someone to kill me? We don't have proof yet, but Torres has been asking questions about your schedule, about when you visit job sites, about your daily routine. One of your foremen, guy named Rodriguez, thought it was strange enough to mention it to me when I interviewed him as an OSHA inspector. Said Torres seemed less interested in the actual work and more interested in when the boss showed up. What do I do? We need more evidence. I want to put a wire on you. If Marcus or Torres approach you, if they try anything, we'll have it recorded. And I'm bringing in Detective Sarah Morrison. She's with Phoenix PD, Homicide Division. This is beyond private investigation now. Detective Morrison arrived an hour later. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense attitude. Mr. Brennan, Patricia briefed me. This is serious. If what you suspect is true, we're looking at conspiracy to commit murder, but we need evidence that will stand up in court. Are you willing to wear a wire? Yes. Good. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to continue your normal routine. Patricia's team will maintain surveillance. If Marcus or Torres makes a move, we'll be there. But Tom, I need you to understand the risk. If they attempt to kill you, if there might be a split second where you're in actual danger before we can intervene. I understand. They wired me the next day. Tiny microphone clipped to my shirt, transmitter in my belt. I wore it every day, every conversation recorded and monitored by Patricia's team and the police. Marcus seemed normal, business as usual. We reviewed project timelines, met with clients, handled payroll. He never mentioned insurance, never suggested another late-night rooftop visit. But 3 days after I started wearing the wire, Marcus came into my office and closed the door.
Tom, we need to talk about something. My heart rate spiked. Sure, what's up? The Scottsdale project. We're over budget by about $200,000. I've been reviewing the numbers and I think I know why. We've got too many consultants, too much oversight. We need to streamline. Okay, what do you suggest? I think you and I should start doing more hands-on management, like the old days. Get up on the sites more often. Check the work ourselves instead of relying on foremen. There it was, the setup. Makes sense, I said carefully. When do you want to start? How about tomorrow, early morning, before the crew arrives, 6 a.m. We'll walk the whole site, assess where we can cut costs. 6 a.m., before anyone else arrived, before witnesses. I'll be there, I said. After Marcus left, I called Patricia. He wants me at the Scottsdale site tomorrow at 6 a.m. before anyone else is there. This might be it. We'll have a team in place, plainclothes officers, surveillance, everything. But Tom, if things go sideways, you need to be ready to defend yourself. Can you do that? I'm 65, not 95, and I was in the Marines before I was a contractor. Good. We'll be listening to everything. If we hear a threat, we'll move in immediately. I didn't sleep that night. Lay awake thinking about 40 years of friendship, of partnership, of trust, about how money could corrupt even the people you thought you knew best, about how Marcus had looked at me on that rooftop, cold and calculating, deciding if it was the right moment to kill me. The next morning, I drove to the Scottsdale site at 5:45. The sun was just starting to rise, the sky turning from black to deep blue. I parked in the lot, saw Marcus's truck already there, took a deep breath, checked the wire, stepped out into the desert morning. Marcus was waiting by the construction trailer. Right on time. Let's head up. I want to check the floor progression on the upper levels. We took the elevator to the 10th floor, then climbed the stairs to 12, the same place where he'd tested pushing me, the place where he'd decided 12 stories was enough to guarantee death. We walked to the western edge. The temporary safety rail looked even flimsier in the early morning light. Below us, the parking lot was empty, except for our trucks. No workers yet. No witnesses. Beautiful morning, Marcus said. You can see all the way to Camelback Mountain from up here. I stood away from the edge, keeping space between us. Marcus, why are we really here? He turned to look at me, that same cold calculation in his eyes. What do you mean? I mean, we're not here to check cost overruns. We're here because you want me dead. Long silence. The wind rustled through the open structure. A bird called somewhere below us. That's a serious accusation, Tom. The life insurance policies. $10 million. The rooftop test 3 weeks ago. Raymond Torres asking questions about my schedule. You think I didn't notice? Marcus's expression didn't change. You've been under a lot of stress. The big project, getting older. Maybe you're imagining things. Am I imagining that you're standing between me and the exit? That you've positioned yourself perfectly to push me if I try to leave? Tom. Or maybe I'm imagining the fact that you hired a convicted felon who's been casing my movements for 6 weeks. Marcus's face hardened. You don't know what you're talking about. Then explain it to me. Explain why you need burner phones to call an insurance broker. Explain why Raymond Torres is working on this site when he's not on our employee roster. Explain why you wanted me up here alone at 6 a.m. You want an explanation? Fine. I've spent 40 years building this company, 40 years of working my ass off while you got to be the public face, the name on the top of the letterhead. Brennan Webb. Always your name first. Always you getting the credit. We agreed to that in 1985. We flipped a coin, and I've regretted it every day since. You know what it's like, being the secondary partner, the guy people forget about, the one who does just as much work but gets half the recognition? So you decided to kill me, take over the company? I decided I deserve more than 50% of something I built. I deserve it all. And you're 65, Tom. How much longer are you going to keep working? Another 5 years? 10? I'm not waiting. I'm not watching you collect half the profits while I do the real work. This is insane, Marcus. We're friends. We're friends. Past tense. You stopped being my friend the day you started treating this company like your legacy instead of our partnership. He moved closer. I backed up, but my heel hit the edge of the safety rail. Nowhere to go but over. Marcus, don't do this. The police know everything. They're listening right now. They're here. He smiled. Nice try. But I don't see any police. Because they're in position waiting for you to make a move. You come at me, they'll arrest you for attempted murder. Or you lose your balance. Tragic accident. A 65-year-old man shouldn't be on a construction site this early in the morning, especially without proper safety equipment. OSHA will have a field day with it, but accidents happen. He lunged at me. I twisted, grabbed his arm, used his momentum against me. 45 years from the Marines, but muscle memory kicked in. I redirected his weight, spun him around, and suddenly he was off balance, flailing towards the edge. Police! Don't move! Detective Morrison burst through the stairwell door, gun drawn. 2 uniformed officers right behind her. Patricia and her team came from the elevator. 6 people, all converging on Marcus, who was frozen at the edge of the rail, one hand gripping the flimsy barrier, the other reaching for something to hold on to. I stepped back, hands up, heart hammering.
Morrison cuffed Marcus right there, read him his rights. "Marcus Webb, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and insurance fraud." "I didn't do anything. He attacked me. You saw it." "We heard everything, Marcus. Every word. Mr. Brennan was wearing a wire. We've been listening to your confession in real time." Marcus's face went white. The wire? "The police know everything. They're listening right now. They're here," Morrison quoted back to him. "You were warned. You didn't believe it." They took him away. I sat on the concrete floor, shaking. Patricia handed me water. "You okay?" "I just watched my best friend of 40 years try to kill me. No, I'm not okay." The investigation took 2 months. Detective Morrison's team arrested Dennis Coulter, the insurance broker who'd been taking kickbacks from Marcus to help facilitate fraudulent policies. Raymond Torres was picked up trying to leave the state. He confessed to being hired to stage my death as a construction accident if Marcus couldn't do it himself. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus's own words on the wire, admitting he wanted to be dead, that he'd planned it, that he thought he deserved the whole company. The financial records showing payments to Torres and Coulter. The burner phones, the pattern of behavior. Marcus's lawyer tried to argue temporary insanity, that the stress of the business had broken him, but the jury didn't buy it. Premeditated murder conspiracy, multiple co-conspirators, detailed planning. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Marcus was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Coulter got 10 years for insurance fraud and conspiracy. Torres got 15. I dissolved Brennan Webb Construction. Couldn't keep running a company with that name. Couldn't walk into an office that reminded me of 40 years of partnership that had ended in betrayal. I sold the assets, liquidated the projects, distributed the money. $30 million, split among our employees, our creditors, and charity. I kept enough to retire comfortably, nothing more. My daughter Sarah flew in from Portland. She stayed with me for weeks, helping me process, helping me understand how I'd missed the signs. "Dad, you trusted him. That's not a character flaw. That's being human."
But it felt like a flaw. Felt like I should have seen it coming. Should have noticed the resentment building over 40 years. Should have heard it in his voice when he said my name first on the letterhead bothered him. I'm 66 now. I don't work in construction anymore. Don't have a business partner. Don't have life insurance policies that make me worth more dead than alive. I live in a small house in Sedona, away from Phoenix, away from the sites where Marcus tried to kill me. Sarah visits often. We hike, we talk, we cook together. She's helped me understand that grief isn't just for death. You can grieve the loss of a friendship, the end of a partnership, the betrayal of someone you trusted. And it's okay to take time to heal. I've learned that money changes people, that resentment can build over decades until it becomes murderous, that even 40 years of friendship can't compete with greed if someone convinces themselves they've been wronged. Marcus sent me a letter from prison 6 months ago. I didn't open it. Whatever he had to say, whatever justification or apology or explanation, I didn't need to hear it. He made his choice. He decided $10 million and full control of a company was worth more than 40 years of brotherhood. There's nothing more to discuss. But I think about it sometimes. The moment on the rooftop when I felt his hands on my back. The realization that my best friend was testing whether he could push me to my death. The cold calculation in his eyes when he looked at me and saw not a friend, not a partner, but an obstacle to be removed. People ask me if I'm bitter, if I hate him. I tell them I don't have the energy for hate. Hate takes strength, takes engagement, takes caring. And I don't care about Marcus anymore. He's a stranger wearing the face of someone I used to know. What I care about is the lesson that you can work with someone for 4 decades and not really know them, that financial incentives can corrupt anyone if the amount is high enough, that life insurance policies meant to protect families can become motivations for murder. I share my story now with other business owners, other partners, other people who trust someone with their lives and their livelihoods. I tell them to structure their agreements carefully, to make sure death benefits can't create murder incentives, to watch for resentment building, for small comments that reveal deeper anger. I tell them that if your partner starts suggesting life insurance updates out of nowhere, ask why. Ask who benefits. Ask what happens if one of you dies. And if the answers make you uncomfortable, trust your instincts. Because I trusted mine. That feeling on the rooftop, that moment of recognition when I knew something was wrong, that saved my life. I could have ignored it, could have written it off as paranoia, but I listened to my gut, and I'm alive because of it. My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm 66 years old. I built a $30 million construction company with my best friend, and he tried to kill me for it. But I caught him. I survived. And I'm sharing my story so others might recognize the warning signs before it's too late. Because in the end, it's not about the money or the company or even the betrayal. It's about knowing that you fought back, that you didn't let someone make you a victim, that you stood at the edge of that rooftop and refused to fall. And that's worth more than any life insurance policy ever written.